Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vani. This is episode 160, and we dive into the House of the Dragon Season 2 finale. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and, well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund.
Incredible!
Hello, gentlemen. What's up?
I hope all of that was being recorded.
I hope not. I hope
not. we had a little Savon After Dark going on there right before the show started.
Look, nice and early in the morning.
Quiet storm, Savon.
As you listeners can tell, we got Brian back on the show. He's back from his whirlwind tour of Europe.
Je return.
And Savon's in here
Français.
with his Dwayne Wayne look, with his Wesley Snipes White Man Can't Jump look.
But to hustle somebody.
Yeah, he got the tank top, the glasses, the hat, the floppy hats.
Ooh, so pretty.
Bill.
I'll make this pretty.
I would
That's
hustle
Wesley
myself.
Snipes impersonation.
I would hustle myself,
by the
though,
way.
because I am awful at basketball. Competent
I
defender,
need to see that,
decent
actually.
post game. Offensively, I'm very much like Ben Wallace. But defensively, I'm also like Ben Wallace. So
All right. Yeah, you lock it down.
2000s
Rebound
game,
it.
I was great. Modern game, they want you to shoot. You're gonna be disappointed.
You could play on a Tibbs team, man.
Oh yeah, Tibbs would love me. My young days, I had a lot of stamina from just running. I could just using me to run and play defense, coach. Say less.
But Tibbs teams shoot the three now.
And that's where Tibbs might have to put me on the bench, or he treats me like Taj Gibson of like, why is this old man still here?
You're the mascot, the team mascot.
How many times you gotta teach you this lesson, old man?
Tibbs is just like, I really like your company. That's why
Yeah.
I'm here.
But yeah, it's good to have
All
the
right.
boys back.
Yeah, but not the boys Amazon show.
No.
We are going to talk about House of the Dragon Season
Yeah.
2. It finished up a couple of weeks ago, and we are delighted to have Brian back so he can give us his hot takes, and Savon is going to give us his cold takes for sure. So we just want to talk about the end. Obviously, it's going to be lots of spoilers. Are you testing your mic? No,
Who's
we can't hear you.
caressing it?
We can't hear you.
Who's
I
He
know.
knows.
I'm trying to. Jeez, Wes, you don't know how to read lips or take.
No. Just do it. I'll cut this part out. What you got?
It's not on his skill tree.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm just making sure my mic was working because we had issues last time.
Nice. All right. It was like super quiet last time. I showed him the waveforms and mine were like this and his were like this.
Yep, straight up, no idea.
Why you got to waveform shame him?
And he sent me that shit like late at night too. I was like,
I
don't know
wasn't
what you want me
shaming
to do
him.
to
I
this,
was just
Wes.
asking him if he knew what happened because I could hear
Why
him.
are your waveforms so small?
I could hear him just fine,
But
and
Wes,
then it
but
recorded.
Wes,
Jumping
you
out
knew,
in
but you knew
cold
damn
tub.
well. But you knew damn well I was not going to know the answer to that question.
Uh,
I'm the least tech savvy of this group, especially with recording stuff. I was not about to have the answer. I just follow y'all instructions.
all right. Well, we'll see if it works. It sounded fine. I listened to it. All right, let's continue on. So, we are gonna have spoilers in this show. Brian is looking wistfully out the window. And I wanted
Thinking
to make
about
sure.
Allison.
I wanted to make sure there's going to be a rivalry on this show. Good thing you guys were recording in different places. How did we feel about this ending? Any specific notes that you have for it? In thinking about the show, I sort of feel like nothing happened. I mean, I know things happened in the finale, but it kind of felt like nothing happened because I was really expecting there to be like some kind of big battle, you know, like a battle of the bastards or something where everybody was coming together on their dragons, or there was some kind of like spy, like guerrilla warfare or subterfuge or something. And really, to me, in my mind, it mostly ended up being set up for the next episode, or for the next season, I'm sorry, which won't even be here for a couple of years. So I think in that way, it felt a little bit like a letdown to me.
They gave us a musical montage instead of a climax. Oh my god!
What was the musical montage? I don't even remember.
Just nothing. They
There's
just
just
had
like,
just all the
here
armies
are all the
assembling.
characters and what they're doing over
Oh.
some soaring music. Like, what? What was
All right.
that? They
So
gave
were
us
you
the
also-
music video ending.
Did you also have House of the Dragon Blue Balls, Brian, then?
Oh, so much. And in particular for me, because I had waited like a week and a half because
Okay.
I was out the country.
Yeah, you was
It was
busy.
hard for me to watch. I wanted to watch it on a big TV. So I waited with bated breath. I'm like, oh, I'm back home. Let's do this. Like we're unwrapping the Christmas present. Now's the time. And wow.
It was a pair of socks.
Yeah, basically. And they were rough. They were wool socks. They were rough
Okay.
on the skin.
There's some
Not
wool
good
believers
for
out there.
those of us that suffer from eczema.
Oh,
And
jeez.
anyway, it was just sort of the kind of episode that made you realize, one, how much they had actually shown during the course of the season, right? A lot had already happened. And so, I came into it expecting that to be one-upped. Instead, what we got was more of an epilogue setting up for future seasons. And it made me realize that, oh, I actually think the show shot their load like with the rest of the season. Like they could have moved things around a little bit to spread it out. They could have put certain things in other places. Like, for example, I think so it's the musical montage. Right before that is Rhaenyra Allison scene, which I think is meant to be sort of the tension, the climactic moment of the episode. And it was good, but undercut by the show itself, right? Undercut by the fact that they did a very similar scene just a few episodes, which was even way better. So given that, it just made you feel like you wanted more from a finale.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that we also want to watch what comes next, right? Which is kind of what they were trying to do with this episode.
Yeah.
All right,
so,
Sav.
Yeah, so that's where I'll hop in on this one. So I felt the way most people felt, right? I was expecting a big payoff. There was a climax. We know there's all this stuff happening, and that was disappointing for me initially. But how I felt about the actual episode, I thought it was a great episode in a vacuum. All of the scenes, conversations,
You were watching in a vacuum?
How'd you get in there, man?
Jesus.
Was it a Dyson?
Ooh, I almost got. Anyways,
Greystoning.
Yeah, right. I had to control myself. No, but I felt a similar way. But I thought the episode itself, I really enjoyed. I liked the scene of Adam finally really no, is it Alan? The Ball's brother.
Adam.
It's Adam. Yeah, Alan. It's Adam. Adam really turning up on Corliss because he's always such a quiet, buttoned-up character, and him really just like talking his talk.
You realize why he didn't say anything before, because he had a lot of rage inside, and he was like, "If I let this out, it's not coming back."
Yeah, but I thought those were great. Honestly, all the stuff with Aegon, who I've talked about how Aegon's so entertaining. His entire just arc is interesting. Watching us really see the monster Aemon is and like how extreme it gets. Helena talking her stuff, Alicent being disillusioned. I actually thought through this episode, lots of the characters got really great scenes to either show how they've changed or what's going on with them. In the vacuum on its own, the episode's great, but I think the disappointment, right, is that this is not a good season finale episode. And I think where they really dropped the ball, if I'm being honest, Brian, wasn't even in the how they put together the episodes. It was them doing an 8-season episode instead of 10. I don't know why they did that. I know it's supposed to be some kind of industry standard thing they've been doing with shows, making like they've been shortening seasons.
Because they cost too damn much.
But nonetheless, for pacing purposes, I didn't think that was the move. I thought the episode was great, but it was a great episode 8. Normally, then in typical Thrones style, episode 9 is usually a huge battle, and then 10 is usually the aftermath of the battle. We're going to deal with how people deal with the fallout of that. And then usually in some capacity, they set us up for the next. But and again, that's how everybody felt frustrated, whatever. I think I was able to give them more grace when I watched the behind the episode after and kind of got the writers and directors to kind of give us a little bit of what their thought process is. And them using the phrase total war as a description of season 3 actually made me a little bit more accepting of them not showing all of the battles in the season finale. And I say that because historically, a lot of Thrones episodes where they have a battle, usually they have like maybe either a whole or half an episode dedicated to that battle. I actually think if they had tried to given us a battle, even in the back half of that episode, it would have been frankly shorter and a little bit done faster than we would have liked, compared to an entire season dedicated to it. So I don't like having to wait 2 years, but I think in terms of how they'll actually do justice to the upcoming battles, I would prefer a season dedicated to those than a half episode battle where things will probably wrap up a lot more quickly and neatly because they have to have a clear beginning end. Like, you don't really get multi-part battle episodes, even in Game of Thrones. If it's a battle, it's either half or the whole episode, or even Battle of the Bastards, right? That was the entire episode. That battle sequence is probably, 15-ish minutes, which was great, but I would be okay with them pushing it back if it means we get multiple episodes potentially dedicated to, like, the same big battle. Additionally, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to wait 2 years. I'm going to actually go back into my book and reread it again because, I mentioned I read the book before the series. And I'm like, you know what? Let me refresh myself a little bit because they changed stuff anyway. And I want to kind of remember what is it that they felt, man, we got to push this off to the next season because trying to squeeze it in here won't do it justice. And I hate to say it. I hate to sound like a shill, but like, I kind of agree. The battles upcoming next season are going to be effing insane. And I'm okay with them getting way more dedicated screen time than shoehorning it into the back half of this season so that we can say, some violence happened. That being said, my one note is that if you're going to do all of that, which I think in the big picture I'm kind of okay with, they should have showed Aemon burning that city down when he went on his tantrum in the aftermath of the Dragon Rider episode.
Exactly. We didn't even get
we
to
would have
see
gotten
it.
I'm okay with them. Like, I'm okay with the show
We
don't
did.
tell balance.
We saw it on fire.
No, we saw the
and him sitting on the side.
No, we saw the aftermath. Again, if you're not going to give us those big battles, that's okay. But you need to give us something because they knew that there was going to be a lot of
wanted blood.
Yeah, or even battles aside, I was expecting a character death. And again, the character deaths, they're coming. And next season, they're going to thin this cast out quite a bit, in my opinion.
Really?
So, sure, it's going to get nasty. But
we needed something really dramatic to happen.
Yes, and the people moments were very dramatic. I think they needed to give us just a little bit more action. I think us showing Aemon's cruelty firsthand rather than the aftermath of him actually burning down that town in retaliation, Sharp Point, I think is what it's called. That would have, I think, been the perfect way to drive home Aemon's cruelty, which we've seen, but really drive it home. Give us some action, because sometimes people just want some, like, just dragon action, and that can hold us off so that even though we're not getting a big battle, we felt like we got some kind of, oh, damn, action moment, and I think folks would have been a lot more satisfied. That being said, I think that this is going to look a lot better in hindsight once we see the actual build-up and the payoff to it. I think the frustrations with some of this season in the back half will look better in hindsight. But that's also going to be dependent on them, frankly, execution and sticking the landing. But I've said for many years on this pod, previous episodes of a show can retroactively be better if they pay off what they're trying to build up.
I think that's true. And it's also a fair criticism to point out that, like, this isn't a show where all of the episodes are coming out back to back to back to back to back. Like, seasons are seasons for a reason. And, like, as a television, production or whatever, typically you are going to have, a story or like a set structure that makes sense as a viewer to call it a season, right? Otherwise it was just season 2 part 1, and then next time is season 2 part 2, and there is something to respecting the format of the season should have, some kind of arc to it, and it did, but it didn't feel like it finished in any sort of way, or like there weren't any, like, it wasn't even a cliffhanger, right? Like, sometimes, like when I think when season 1 ended, isn't that where Lucerys got killed? And it kind of finishes basically.
Luke gets killed, and then you see Rhaenyra just livid in the face, and then I think they kind of end it there.
Right, and that's it doesn't mean that, like, the story has to end, but it reached a point where it was like, whoa, that was a big moment, and, like, we got to take a breath now. right? Where we didn't have that in this one. There were no big moments where we have to take a breath. It was just kind of like, here's this thing, and here's that thing, and here's these people in this place.
Cue the
And
montage.
yeah. So I do agree with you that this might look better as a transitional episode if once we are able to go back and watch these in order. But how many people are actually going to come back and really rewatch it in order, given that the first time they saw it, they were like, it was kind of a weird ending to the second season. So I think both of those things can be true, that like you can be critical of how they handled the show and know that maybe if they're doing season 3 and 4 well, that this won't be as bad on a rewatch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the. So the other lens I tried, which I don't disagree with you. I think the other lens I looked at it, and you and I talked a little bit about this, Brian. We didn't. Was also looking in the. First of all, I went back and looked at some of the previous Throne seasons, and like they almost took, 2 seasons plus to get to some of their big battles. Like even season 1, they didn't have any like big war battle sequences. I think the Blackwater battle episode is the end of season 2, but the other thing I had to kind of recontextualize with the show pacing wise was that season 1 was never going to be a war because it's decades before the main conflict, and it's really more of a prologue season. So that kind of reframed it as season 2 being closer to the season 1 in terms of the actual time that this conflict is taking place, right? Because most of season 1, hell, some of that is when even characters like Viserys are kids, because you're seeing the old king and they're really doing a lot of background setup. So once I tried to look at season 1 as a prologue, then season 2 as the start of the story proper, that kind of was able to have me at least make a little bit more peace with understanding, yeah, this is the season where war is on the table, but people are either prepping or trying to avoid it. Season 1 was never really about prepping or avoiding. It was just why everybody got beef in the first place. So from that perspective, again, doesn't mean that I don't disagree with some of those pacing concerns that you mentioned, but I was able to look back and kind of see, okay, season 1 is prologue of why we're here in the first place. Season 1 is, okay, the conflict is established, how they're building up to it. And now 3 is going to be we're here, people about to start dying left and right. But I also will admit that, like, I have the perspective of a book reader, and I had to refresh myself, so now I can give grace that folks
Savon
who didn't.
The book reader.
I'm saying, but there's grace, but I have foresight that lets me give grace that if you're not going to read the book, of course, like I understand why those frustrations will stay and why they won't change, because you don't know who's going to die, or you don't know just how bloody the battle stuff gets. So you're like, hey man, y'all got to give me something.
Well, they might not even show it, apparently, because sometimes they're just like, here's what happened. It's on fire.
Here's what the dead look like.
Yeah, but also
they did that twice this season, right? They did it with
did.
that battle between the two
first
lower
one was
houses.
more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The second one was just showing the aftermath of what Aemon did.
Yeah, and I
didn't elevate the character or the conflict or anything. It just
I was talking about the battle
like
between the lower houses where you just see
mass
bodies.
Right.
Okay.
I'm saying that was more powerful.
Yeah, that was
you saw the argument, and then you saw the bloody aftermath. This one with Aemon is just like, okay, something with Aemon happened. Missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, we're getting a lot of battles, so the best I can say is I can see why certain battles you gotta skip over. Some battles you have to skip over because if you show every battle, some just aren't important enough to the narrative to say, hey, we need to show a whole battle.
Yeah.
Like the Bracken Blackwood, they didn't need to show that fight. There was no named important characters in it. The beef was enough. But the Aemon burning down a town, I'm like, hey, this is a character who we already know, who's established. He's not a stranger. Showing that would have actually been some character development of like, hey man, Aemon's a dick. Let's really drive that home. Let's really drive home that he's immature and feckless, some would even say.
Yeah.
But
2 feckless brothers.
Yeah, but I had my frustrations, but I think that season 3 is gonna be a banger, and I think most of our frustrations we're gonna forget once we see, because even though we're mad that they kind of teased us, y'all can't pretend like y'all are not still excited for all these epic battles. Come on, man, y'all. We about to pretend like we're sitting here frustrated, but like, we not. Look, I can tell you now that season 1 opener is about to be a banger. Everybody about to be holding their jaw, holding their child close to their bosom. It's gonna be it's gonna be some stuff.
They better loosen up those purse strings for season 3 and really allow all this to happen on screen. They better be like, yo, no expense is too much. Like we're not gonna cut away because we have the budget to do it.
Yeah. And
And
I have high
I do think
expectations.
season 2 suffered from the opposite.
Yeah.
Mm.
But also, I don't know why but it just shouldn't have made it 2 episodes shorter. That was just that's just not gangster.
Dragons
maybe
cost
that-
a lot of money.
Yeah, and
Yep.
maybe that's how many they storyboarded for. They were
Yep.
like, actually, the 8 is what we need. So
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
know.
so. But to your point, Brian, I agree. Like, they have a lot of battles upcoming, battles that I frankly have very high expectations for, and I'm gonna be judging them pretty heavily on I defended y'all saying that you're gonna really lean into these battles for the next season, so you have to go all out making those truly hit home, because this is really what the Dance of the Dragons this season is the next season is what's really gonna be the epitome of it. Where
Oh, they're gonna dance. It's gonna
I
be
love-
a breaking battle.
I love that Savon wants the writers to like defend his honor. Like, he made this argument. He's like, we're on the same team now, so now you got to come through for me.
No,
'cause
but
I
it's
came
like
through
sword
for
to their
you.
neck.
Yeah.
No, but it's like I get it. I can give you grace, but that grace extends into also having expectations of like, I'm giving you grace here, but it's because I have higher expectations here.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty reasonable to say. I'll give you,
that they owe me.
I never said they owe me, but it's just
I kind of did.
I'm not just one of those fans who can never be satisfied. It's like, I
Yeah.
get what you're going for, but I'm gonna need y'all to stick the landing on this because
Right. Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
this
that,
is an
like,
important
people
part of the
want-
show.
I don't think it's a bad thing that people want more. They want to know what comes next, right? Like, that's a good thing. The show is successful in that part of it, and like, it's a transition. It was just like kind of a weird place to have that type of transition, I think. So
The 8, like I
let's keep
said,
it going.
I'm mad at the 8 episode thing, but yeah, let's keep it.
yeah. So what was your favorite moment? Maybe especially in the back half of the season. What was your favorite moment of this whole House of the Dragon thing? There were so many like moments. Last time we talked about this. We talked about like the twin battle that happened between Eric and all of that, and that was kind of epic. And I don't know if we had the part where Aegon gets burned yet when we talked about it last time. That might have been right after we talked about it.
It was.
So like, what to you kind of stood out, especially from the back half of the season, memorable, or things you're just gonna be like, wow, that was some epic movie making, television making stuff. Savon.
I know we're talking about the back half, but like for me, it was the Rook's Rest battle. Like, just the fact that I know we were just talking about how we wish there would have been more battles and stuff, but that Rook's Rest battle was so awesome. We got dragons, we got betrayal, we got to really see different size dragons and them just become these Apache war chopper death machines. And just when it was a part where a dragon got injured and its blood was basically just like hot lava. One of the dragons crashed and that MF exploded like a GTA jet. But it was so awesome. I'm like, yeah, I guess if you're a giant fire breathing
That made no sense.
monstrosity. Wes is mad at the fire breathing dragon.
I'm not
that
mad.
breathes exploding fire.
I enjoyed it just like you did. It just
I don't
didn't
know.
make any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. They breathe
All right.
fire. That means they got an internal gas tank.
combustible.
That gas
All
tank
right.
exploded.
Yeah.
What's the Brian? We're not tripping here, right? Like that.
No.
But the Rook's Rest battle was amazing, and then the aftermath of Aegon just being burned, because that gave me my new favorite character, which is just injured Aegon. Because
That's your favorite character?
in terms of just
you have so much sympathy
no, I
for
hate
the
Aegon.
suffering.
No, I hate Aegon. I do not like him as a person. I think he's just so tragic and interesting. I don't
Yeah.
like him at all. He's not
Not
sympathetic. I think his character is interesting. You don't have to like somebody to find their character interesting.
I
No,
think
didn't
what's
say that.
interesting
I don't
is,
find him interesting.
is him and his new dynamic with
Laris.
Laris.
with the clubfoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think that dialogue makes it interesting.
Yeah. But, him being injured, him being failed by everybody around him, I don't know. Between that and honestly, similar Aegon scene, Otto absolutely tearing my guy apart when he had that dumbass plan, when he made Cole. I could legit sit and just rewatch that scene, because we've all had moments in our life where we were Otto in that scene, where someone does or says something so stupid, so foolish, that he did the longest turn away slow blink I have ever seen. That boy really he held that. What has he done? He held that joint. So yeah, Otto Aegon scene from like a character conversation perspective, and then Rook's Rest from just like, hey man, that was our first time seeing a real dragon fight on screen, and it was effing sick.
We never had dragon battles in Game of Thrones.
Tell me.
Yeah, I guess they didn't fight each other as
There
much.
is one
There was one
when the Ice King takes over one of the
Right.
dragons, and he's fighting.
Does he fight with another dragon? With
Yeah,
Daenerys'
he
dragon?
fights with Daenerys' dragon,
All right,
and they're like chasing each other in the darkness.
nice. That you can't see because they couldn't figure out the contrast issues in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I had a good TV. That
But
shit
yeah.
looked
Okay.
awesome for me.
yeah, but we
Alright.
got some good dragon action fighting that we've never seen in the series, and I felt like that's one of the defining parts of this entire House of the Dragon. And I felt like our first big dragon fight they delivered, and I
Alright,
was
Brian?
genuinely happy.
Rook's Rest for you?
Dragons, more dragons. Rook's Rest, of course. Savon took my answer, but there's still more dragons in this season, and they are awesome. And so when Rhaenyra has to go back to the drawing board and figure out how can I get an advantage now that Rhaenyra and her dragon are gone, we got to
Rhaenys.
get dragon riders. And so the whole process of them trying out people with Targaryen blood, she tries out the guy, her own knight, who gets crisped up. He gets toasted, like face to face with the dragon, like 5 millimeters away. Boom, nuked. Like that stuff was just like it was painful. It was awful. It was hilarious. It was fascinating too, right? Because they're changing the paradigm of how their own world works and
Yeah.
their own lore. So it's almost like revisiting history and trying to understand things in a different way. There's just so much going on there. And then when they go back a second time and bring in more people, they bring in all the bastards, basically.
That shit was wild.
And they get lit up too.
They are getting cleared out.
Were they low-key trapped?
The
Could they low-key not
exterminator
escape?
has come for the humans.
Yeah, those guards were holding them in.
Yeah, were those guards low-key not letting them leave? Was I reading that right?
Oh
Wes?
yeah.
Okay,
They were not allowed to leave.
Yeah, I was like, Rhaenyra.
On Rhaenyra's orders.
Yeah, because I was just like, okay, what if you decide actually, I'm good, big dog.
Yeah.
Ain't
Nope.
even for real like that.
You are not allowed to tap out.
This was Hotel California.
Yeah.
Dang, okay, I want to make sure.
There's only one way to commit.
Yo, B, that was
with your life.
That was effed up. Like, I was so caught up with the dragon burning everybody that I couldn't
They signed
tell.
the waiver.
Yeah, I'm like, dang, not letting them leave. But I was so caught up with the dragon burning everybody that I couldn't make sense of it. And I was like, oh, nah, that's some big armored guards, and they getting burnt too. And I know I would have backed.
Yeah.
Dang, that's wild. That was effed up, yo.
Yeah, I would be, I'd be trying to sneak out of there and, put down my sword. I'm out. I'm good, Rhaenyra. I'm good.
Send me home.
This ain't me.
This was the only way through is through, or the
Can I
only way
serve you a
forward is
different
through.
way? Can I serve you a different way? You need somebody to help sweep. You need to cook. Look,
Yo,
your
I'll
boy, hey,
clean that
I'm a
toilet.
Look,
I will
I'm a
clean
good
that toilet.
blacksmith. I'm a good blacksmith. Like, I can work for you, but this dragon shit, nah, B ain't even that serious.
Like, oh my God. Yeah, all of that was really fun and great. And also seeing those final two guys claim a dragon each, and in different ways, right?
Way different ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Hope and
The
Hugh.
To
guy
match
from
the personality of the dragon almost.
our drunk cop friend from Warrior, who like
Yeah.
finally earned his
Bill.
place in the show. We're like,
Wait, Oath? The drunk dude?
No, the other one.
the
one.
so
Hugh
the
Hammer,
one
the
with
big
the guy
dead
with
boy?
the
daughter.
beard and the dead
Yeah.
daughter
Hugh.
plays a drunk cop in Warrior.
Oh,
So he's not drunk in House of the Dragon, but
That's his friend,
he stands up to the dragon, shows some sort of nobility, shows courage, all of that stuff,
Oh,
which is cool. And then we get the inverse of that with the drunk guy who's trying to hide from the
He was like,
dragon, who steps in some dragon eggs, I think.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
were those
that was a-
dragon eggs?
that was an egg clutch. Yeah.
Oh my
Ugh.
god. Like he should be a snack. Like
Yeah, you
I
killed
really
my babies.
don't understand
I don't
how
think
he
he broke
survived
it.
that.
The-
Maybe he just broke through the mucus or something. Maybe
yeah, I think he
go
broke
through
the
an
clutch.
egg.
He didn't break the egg, but he
Okay.
definitely stepped into the thing where they're housed. But the show, even the writer kind of hinted at, like, hey man, the dragons, believe it or not, do have their
Mhm.
own like personalities, and
Yeah, they said we're not going to explain it. Nobody knows. So
Maybe
just
that
have to-
dragon was like, "Hey, you're hilarious. You
Honestly,
just killed my unborn
That's
baby.
what he said.
yeah.
Ha,
Look,
ha,
one
ha,
dragon,
I'm gonna keep you around."
he didn't kill him though, but like one was probably like, oh, this dude's showing, what is it, deference, and the other's like, oh, this one's got some metal. I like this little dude. All right, bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the one showing deference, that dragon is like, yeah, I could use a dilettante. I could use someone to shit on.
Yeah, and some of the dragons
You're-
are like
you're
more
good.
chill than others. Some of them they said are battle tested. I don't know. Wes, I like their take of just like, hey man, it don't gotta make sense. It's like pets.
Yeah.
Some people's pets are jerks. Some people's pets are nice. Some people you go to their house, their
Yeah.
dog is like, oh yeah, new person.
Who
Others
knows
don't
why
even
this
their
pairing
dog
works?
just start barking at you. It's like, you know what, man, F it.
I
Well,
want to
they-
see the dragon that just keeps chasing its own tail. He's nonstop.
It low key might be that one. It bonded with the drunk dude who immediately them two went joyriding around King's Landing. I'm like, oh my lord, this man. They didn't give a drunk dude a Lamborghini with the keys and said, man, go nuts.
And then
With a
he's
tank.
he's
They gave
putting
him a
his
tank.
feet up on the table. Oh my
But my
god!
son, so that was great. Or the way he disrespected my boy Jace, he was really just like, man.
Jace needed to be taken
he
down
was
a peg or
he
two.
was not entertaining Jace's delusions at all. That boy said, nobody can tell us nothing, right? Cut from the same cloth. I'm like, oh nah, we
More
would've had to
chicken, more chicken.
Words. Oh,
Jace
man.
was right though. Like, hey, you can't fuck around. Like, come on, man. Like,
I
this is
know,
Oh,
that
I
was-
can't wait for him to fuck around. It's
What?
definitely gonna
What?
happen in the
He's
next
definitely gonna
season.
do
This
it.
guy's gonna
What?
fuck around, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be epic.
They pulled that man off the streets, a drunk dude, gave him a dragon, and then knighted him and gave a bunch of food and nice shit, and then said, hey, behave. It's like,
He's
It's
he's
like,
gonna
it worked
do,
for me so far.
He's gonna do something really extra and like out the box, but it's gonna be epic. It's gonna actually deliver.
oh man, spoilers.
You
It's
heard
gonna
it here
be-
first.
It's gonna be great.
All right. So let's see. Oh, one of the things that I really enjoyed about this season, or not enjoyed, but was
Oh.
like magnetic to me, was just watching Eamon kind of descend into like his more and more and more cruel self. And I know in the past I've been pretty critical of like characters who are kind of like one note and cruel, and like Joffrey, like I didn't care, like it was like whatever, or like I like to see characters on screen who at least have some sort of redeeming humanity in them, if they're going to play a major role in the show. But I think Aemon's like just sort of chaos, but like planned chaos, is just sort of like interesting to watch how he's going to manipulate the board, and where he is in some ways really tactical and in other ways really untactical, right? And so those two things in conflict with him, I'm just like liking the way that he sort of grabbed and seized the power that was there for him when the opportunity arose. And he's been it wasn't that he like calculated this particular move forever. It was that he was just like, I need to be on that throne because you, brother, are incapable of actually running this country the way it needs to be run. And in his mind, he's the hero of the story, right? And so I think just
And he's
seeing
kind of
him,
capable, right?
Yeah,
kind of
in some ways,
I don't
yeah.
agree at all. Like,
But in some ways, he's awful at it, right? Like he doesn't understand that your power also comes in some ways from your people, right? And that he's not always like pushing advantages. Sometimes he's pushing disadvantages. And so, but in other ways, he does understand like the theories of battle and stuff in a way that Aegon doesn't at all. Right. And so it's just kind of interesting to see him like try to figure these things out, where his rage is overtaking his good sense. Whereas
Yeah.
Aegon, it was like, you don't have any good sense to fall back on at
well,
all.
I think he
So-
had I think he had decent intentions.
Who?
But Aegon.
Neither of them.
No, so this is what I'll say. No, because even Aegon, when he became king, one of the first things he did try to do was petition the people.
All
he had
right,
talk
I
to the
guess.
people.
Yeah, but he's
But-
awful at it.
Yeah, but
He was just like, here you
but
go,
my-
sheep
but
for you.
but that's my point. My
But
point
he
is
wanted
that
to do good.
he had positive intentions, but he
Which
is
didn't
just
match
not
his previous characterization, BT dubs.
but you just said you don't
We
want a
talked
one
about this before.
we don't want a
Yeah,
one
we
note
did.
character, right? Like he's
Yeah, yeah.
complicated. He's still a
Yeah.
piece of crap, but he's a
He's not that
complicated piece of
complicated.
crap. I think so, but that's a different. Well, I'm not doing this with you.
All right.
Point is,
You're
I don't know.
disagreeing with my point. What? I can't argue back. What are you talking about?
You're not even arguing. You're just saying like, no, he's not. No. That's wrong. That's not arguing.
But I agree with you about the stuff with Eamon but what I liked was that when the mama straight up called them out like from the tee of like, dude, you lash out when you feel embarrassed because you still not over the humiliation you had as a kid and you're making that everybody else's problem. And I was like, ooh, if that wasn't just a really hard call out. But I don't know. I've liked watching the Eamon and Power scenes because I used to think he was a lot more strategic and then quickly realized, oh no, he's just using the throne to get revenge on everyone he doesn't like. But that's arguably just as bad as Aegon just being a complete dunce. Like they're both awful in different ways, but like keep in mind,
and they're making mistakes.
Yeah, Eamon hasn't done anything that I would consider to be smart or successful. Like he closed the gates, that caused more problems. That led to the trying to block the ports, that caused more problems. That made it easier for Rhaenyra to send food, right, to be able to cause rioting in the city. The whole council is kind of like low-key intimidated and don't really agree with what Aemon's doing. And a lot of his shit is that he really just wants to ride his dragon and start shit. Like he's not an idiot the way Aegon is, but I love that I think he's equally incompetent, just a different brand of incompetent. But I agree with you, Wes. I've loved watching Aemon, like us really seeing how crappy he is and how that crappiness manifests and how he's still just not over his childhood. Yeah, I guess trauma is a fair term. He got his eye slashed out as a kid. That's pretty valid.
I guess you could call that trauma.
I can't just be like,
he got a dragon out of it.
Me personally, if someone slashed out my eye and got a dragon, I would personally get over it. But
everyone tried to act like he did.
Oh, that was cope. That was straight cope. My son was not over it. That dude has been a salt lord the rest of his life since that moment over the same people.
Yeah,
he already
and
killed
he's attacked
a kid.
and he's assaulted like 2.5 of them. He killed one and burnt his brother out the sky. I'm like, B, what more do you effing want?
Yeah. He I think at the beginning of season 2,
the mama tried.
There was some hope that maybe he'd be a little bit more restrained, right? Or like in a way that Aegon wasn't. And we saw him with this conversation with his mistress, his girlfriend. I don't know what you would call her. She's, a little guru, so to speak. But once he gets embarrassed by Aegon in the middle of the brothel, or Aegon tries to embarrass him, right?
He embarrassed
That it sort of sets him off in a path where he really can't even see anymore. Like there's somewhere in here for me to like actually be a good ruler. It's just, straight up revenge again. So I like that he had that sort of like, oh, it could go this way. And it didn't. And then everyone's like, oh shit, this dude is like off his rocker and he's doing bad things and everybody is suffering for it. So I like that.
Boy, he bad too.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. What else we got here? So the characters, I think a lot of standout like moments, performances. Was there anything that you really liked? I loved both of those scenes. I know, Brian, you said that like the two conversations between Alicent and Rhaenyra, that the first one ended up being better and the second one ended up being kind of redundant. And I don't know that I felt that way. I actually really liked seeing them like do this dance of like, are we connecting in some way? Like, how do we deal with our past? And like all of that comes through because we've seen it through like how they're doing it separately and then also through their childhood and like the difficulty they had in communicating when Alicent became queen or queen regent or whatever you call it. And they're so guarded with each other, and yet both of them, because of how we've seen them, that both of them want to do right by the people and by the kingdom and by the throne, and they just are not quite seeing eye to eye, and they don't know if they can actually share the things that would need to be shared in order for them to like, and like you feel all of this, and their acting has just been like, I think, on point in both of those conversations. And the tables obviously turned, right? In one, Alicent, in the first one, Alicent is sort of like, I can't really help you. We have the upper hand. And in the second one, it's like, I don't know if I can help you. Like, we now have the upper hand, and you set this thing in motion, and I don't know if I can forgive you for that. And even if I could, what does it matter? This thing is rolling with or without us now, and so
You're here, baby.
yeah, I loved those that just like sort of helplessness, even by these few people who had a lot of power. But Alicent pissed away her power, and Aemon took it from her, and so like all of these things are playing into those conversations. I just thought like those were like super cool like moments that the writers did a really good job with. So that's what I enjoyed in terms of characters. Brian, did you have
Also,
moments?
Alicent gave up her son at the
Yeah,
very end, which
right.
is
She
which is
says you
a
can kill
crazy
him.
thing.
Yeah.
You can have his head. Well, she didn't
Yeah.
say that exactly. And then she also asked Rhaenyra to come with her
Yeah, which
wherever
was weird.
there is, right?
Yeah, she was like, I can't do that.
It was it was a little like odd thing
Yeah.
for her to say at the end of that
But she's like she's back as a child, right? She's like, I want to just go and
But
be
let's
free.
hang out.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's
Right.
chill. I
She
heard
never
you're
had her
into girls
teenage
now.
years.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, I do like Alicent.
She never had her teenage years, so now she wants to experience that. And it's like, dude, that ship has sailed, man.
Yeah, I do like that Alicent has had. I have enjoyed her character development this season. I know it's very easy for us to like hate on the Alicent character, but
Yeah, she sucks.
I think she's one of the more sympathetic characters.
For sure.
All the awful for all the awful stuff happening, none of it's really her direct fault. It's Otto's fault.
Ah.
Literally
okay.
the entire.
All
I
right.
mean, like I said, I think it's Otto's fault. Like I think Alicent could have done nothing in this story, and the war would still happen because Otto was like, "Yo, man, we about to install your boy Aegon." Which, when it's all said and done, that's what this conflict is about.
That was
So
your
I think
master plan.
Yeah, so I think her arc is always interesting because it's easy to hate her from surface level, but then you realize she didn't really do any of this. But it is wild to see her reconcile with like duty, family. That's what you thought was important.
But it's
Turns
not like
out
she
it's
didn't play
all
a role in
bull.
it.
Yeah, but
she's culpable.
But everybody played a role in it. If that's the case, But if we're playing that card, then every character in the story is like at fault too. But that's a boring answer. Saying it's everybody's fault is kind of a boring answer. But her arc has been super interesting, and watching her be like, man, f all this. This has just been the structures I've been kind of forced into my whole life, and I never really got to think to do anything else. Mm-hmm. That's still cool to see play out. It just sucks because it's also interesting because like, hey, cool, your sons that you love are still a key part of this entire conflict. So there's
like,
no
okay, Dr. Manhattan, but
there's
like
no happy,
it's still
like,
going
cool.
on.
There's no happy, like it's like, this sucks for you because you have had this self-actualization, but there's no happy ending in this situation for the parties involved. Yeah. This ain't over till somebody's family is dead.
Right. Nice for you. You get to leave.
Well, we'll see if she gets to leave. We'll see.
All right. Brian.
I want to stick on this train of not stick on this train, stay on this train of
like Spider-Man, stick to it.
Keep going, Wes. Keep going. whatever that was, keep going. I want to stay on this train of showing appreciation for our women protagonists here. So, there's Miss Saria, who I appreciate had much more of an interesting role this season than last. Though she sort of peters out by the end of season 2, which is unfortunate. Mm-hmm. It's like, she develops this strong bond with Rhaenyra to the point where, they're showing physical affection to each other. And then after that, she kind of disappears. She maybe has like one small scene, and then there's no sort of follow up on their burgeoning relationship, and whether it's romantic, whether it's political, whether it's the silent right hand or whatever. I would have liked to see more of that, but the other character who truly was much more of a hand to Rhaenyra was Rhaenys, and I thought that was a really awesome thing to see unfold. The queen who never was also, playing the sidelines a lot in season 1, right? And you really just didn't get a strong sense of, whether she was going to pick a side, whether she was indifferent, just felt jaded, but ultimately threw her support behind Rhaenyra and was giving her the lessons on how to rule. Which was very cool to see from like the queen that never was to the queen who should be, and that sort of like passing on of the torch. And so that made it all the more impactful when she got burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, that was rough. We all was, and we was mourning. That was
Yeah,
rough.
yeah, like
Because Ray
you
Nice was
felt as
a
bad
crowd
as the sea
favorite.
snake. Yes.
Yeah, like Ray Nice was like, man, if the Sea Snake do some crash out shit, I understand why. like that's kind of how I felt. Which, by the way, just while we're talking about those characters, we didn't really talk about Corliss a lot, but Corliss has really been a consistently great character these 2 seasons. He's well acted. He's well designed. He's this character who even like in the world of Game of Thrones, he's a legend, right? He's the sea snake. He's this legendary explorer, all that. But I've really enjoyed his scenes from him mourning his wife to him being obsessed with legacy and how that legacy and his ambition has changed and waned and waxed and how he has to kind of reconcile with like I like how they make him such a frankly complicated character of he's torn about his heir and family. He lost his son, he lost his daughter, he's unsure about his grandchildren, even the illegitimate ones or the ones who are controversial, like have their own stuff going on. He's been spurned by different heirs. He tries to find his then he has the Hall boys and that whole thing happens. But I don't know. I'm just always enjoying the scenes with Corliss because he almost has his own little side story going on where he's like loyal to Rhaenyra out of like loose obligation only. He clearly doesn't really like Rhaenyra because he blames her for the death of his son, his wife, like a lot of just the awful shit that's happened. He blames her, but I don't know. I've really just enjoyed the Corliss, the actor who plays him, and I'm really excited to continue to get more of him, especially with the upcoming sea battles. But I just wanted to give a shout out. Always been he's been a very interesting character who's not just hardcore on one side or another. And even his loyalty to Rhaenyra is more out of his grandchildren. But I don't know. I like the dynamic and what he's brought and how he is still super intelligent, but kind of on his own page, has his
He
own
feels
agenda.
like he could have his own spin-off show. Like
Yeah,
the Adventures of the Sea Snake.
There we go.
Going into Essos and all of that. Like it's always curious, like what is even going on out there?
Yeah, there we go.
I feel like there's a lot of story there.
But I think that's
he's a
part
side
of
character
the
who
problem.
could be a main character.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the problem a little bit with his character is that he's got a lot of things going on, but we don't really see them. They haven't shown him on a single ship. They haven't shown him.
He was beside a ship.
Many times he was beside a ship. He's been. He talks in the in the throne room
Ship
with
adjacent.
his wife or with his granddaughter, and there's a little bit, but like he got made hand, and his amount of handing that he did was very limited, right? Like Misari is really the hand of season 2, even though he's hand for 2 episodes or 3 episodes, and like his advice
is the one who's getting handsy.
Yikes. Yeah, but there's just I think the fact that you want a spin-off show for him speaks a little bit to one, a lot of his great days, his adventure days are in the past, right?
He's an old man at this point. Yeah, at this point.
But I also think there's some aspect of like he hasn't really had his own agency, right? A lot of it is more just like, I'm like playing this situation. I'm kind of here in this situation. And I wish there was more. Like Savon says, I think he's an interesting character, but I don't think we've really gotten a ton from him other than his hand wringing over who's going to be my heir and like, am I going to support them? And like, I really wanted my wife to be the queen, but like now I have to support this other girl and she's not really the queen, and stuff like that. So I don't know. Sav disagrees. Go ahead.
I think you're wrong. I mean,
you don't want more of Corliss?
No, what I'm saying is that we've gotten that. Like, we literally in season 1 of the show, we got to see Corliss at war in armor, battling, killing people. Him and Daemon's entire Stepstones war was their own side thing that we got good amounts of screen time for.
Wow, I totally forgot about that.
But we actively had him and Daemon waging a war that we saw, like, and it wasn't like that wasn't an off-screen battle like we said.
No, it was a big battle.
We saw dragon stuff. We saw Laenor riding his dragon. We saw his brother Vaemon still being pissing and moaning about shit, right? Like, I think we actually
before he lost his head.
Yeah, I think the younger version of Sea Snake in season 1, we got to see him have a lot of agency in terms of he was trying to get his family deep into the royal line. Like, that was his agenda, the Stepstone, so they could secure more power. I actually think we got a lot of his own agenda core. He lost everything he cared about and realized, and he got older and realized his priorities shifted. his whole thing was building up the family name and trying to have prestige, and he realized, man, my son dead, my daughter dead, my wife dead, my heir situation is in shambles. This is all from me trying to reach for the sky. Actually, I'm an old man. Let me chill out and be loyal to Rhaenyra's cause. Even though I don't like her, this is how I can help the vestiges of what's left in my family. And even him, he said he wanted to leave. He's only loyal to Rhaenyra because he said, man, let's just run off. Rhaenys is the one who said, nah, B, we in this joint because our grandkids are gonna be in danger if this war loses, so we gotta pick a side. But like, I disagree with you in that. I think they gave I actually think Corlys has gotten a pretty good arc from really ambitious, trying to get power, to realizing his priority shift, to now old man just trying to, do right by what's left of his family, even though he's only in served to piss them off more, which is even better. And now we're gonna probably get even more, because now at this point, it's more or less, we more or less know that's his kids. One of them got a dragon, the other he's trying to promote. That dynamic isn't gonna go away, so they're gonna definitely explore that even further. So like, I'm actually very happy with the overall arc Corlys has gotten and direction it's gone, especially for someone who's not a main character and not even a Targaryen at that. So
I love seeing him take on the hand pin. That was great. Like, you're just like, yes, yeah, you should be the hand for Rhaenyra. Like,
but
we are rooting for you.
But then what did he do as hand?
He told her that she needed to act. He was the one that says, you got to press your advantage now.
Yeah,
right. Which is also why the blue balling of the final episode.
Yeah, that pause is like, you're right, Corlys.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, right?
We on the same page, right?
No.
All right. All right. Season 3. What are you most excited for coming up? Is it just the Battle of the Dragons? Because I'm ready for some dragons to battle each other. But I also want to see like the humans, right? Because if it's just Transformers, where just just the giants are battling and nothing is happening on the ground, that's kind of boring. But
trust me,
I still want to see the dragons.
You're good. You're gonna get a mix of both, I think.
All right, Brian, what you looking forward to?
I want to see some dragons hit some swipes into air flares, into like a cool chair freeze, and then me mug somebody, throw a burn, and then burn them. But I also want to see some subterfuge in dark corners of the crypt of the Red Keep. I want to see something unexpected happen. I want to see somebody get stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
I trust that things are going to happen. I do think that Alicent is now kind of a wild card. Like, who knows what she's going to do? She's saying like, hey, you can have my son. You can have my son. But is she really going to let that happen? What's going to force her hand in which direction? And then how is she going to carry it out?
And keep in mind,
that's something to watch.
And keep in mind, Aegon's gone now. Like, she thought he was in the city.
Oh, yeah,
Larys smuggled him out. So, like, that's
Otto Hightower is also
locked up for some reason.
In prison. We don't know why. We don't know where. Yeah, we don't know how. So these are lots of things ready to explode in unexpected ways.
Did y'all see Darren's dragon? I don't know if y'all caught that.
Mm-hmm.
Darren was Alicent and Viserys' fourth child, who we haven't seen yet. But when they were showing the army montage, there was the Hightower army, if you notice the flags, and then there was a guy. You couldn't see the dude, because I guess they haven't casted him or they haven't like debuted him yet. But like riding a blue dragon, and he's another Hightower Targaryen son. So I don't know, I'm excited for those new characters we're gonna get. I think what I'm looking for, I don't want to say what I'm looking forward to because it's spoilers, but I don't know. I'm just looking forward to all of it. I'm curious to see what they're gonna change from the source material. That's what I'm most excited for. Because after the season, I told you I read the Dance of, including the parts that the show has already covered, and me getting to see some of the changes. It's like, oh, this was actually an interesting change for the better, or like, that's an interesting creative choice. So things won't be a one for one. But generally, I've liked their changes. So I'm curious to see. I'm pretty happy with how some of this source material goes. What are y'all going to do that hopefully elevates it or makes it better? What are the things in this book that by design don't see conversations between characters? How are they going to do that? Like the Aemon and Aegon relationship and them kind of being low-key beefed out is never really hinted at in the books. You don't really know too much about it. But with dialogue, you learn that they have a very fraught relationship. They're going to do that with more upcoming book content. And I'm curious to see like there's some major events in the book that maybe come off as a bit more black and white that I can already sense the show is gonna make into a more shade of gray. And I'm with honestly with certain characters who I won't say, but I'm curious as like, y'all aren't setting this character up to just be a dick. So are y'all gonna make them into a dick later? Or are y'all gonna make their motives more sympathetic and complicated? Which they've done very well so far, like with Allison, who in the book is frankly just an evil stepmother. But in this one is a lot more like complex.
Interesting.
Or even Viserys, who in the book is kind of more of just like he's way weaker in the book. He's kind of just he'll kind of just do whatever to make people happy. Not to say he wasn't like that in the show, but he was more competent, right? I'm excited to see how they use their actors because I think this show is a very well acted, and that alone elevates a lot of the scenes and dialogue. So they've done a good job with that. I'm excited to see how that trends.
I too, but I don't want to wait 2 years.
Me
Bring
neither.
it next year.
I don't want to wait 2 years. I'm with you on that. We could be dead in 2 years.
Read the book, Wes.
Well,
Listen to the book.
But I think that's a great point. And the behind the scenes things also point out that like a lot of the things that they're showing in the show are things that there wouldn't have been a historical record of. And so they get this license to kind of fill in the gaps, which is really cool. Like, I think it's fun that like they're constrained by the events that the historical record that George R. R. Martin wrote, but they get to play around in these margins, these edges where people wouldn't have been, and assign kind of, you know, these motivations or these different like tensions that aren't tackled in the book because it's more of a historical thing. It's really more just like this happened and these people were here and there and yada yada yada, but not about, you know, like why did this happen and what were the sort of like feelings that they were having at the time. And obviously television is a great medium for that. So I think that is a cool thing that they've been really intentional about as they're making the show. Yeah, let's finish this off. So Rhaenyra in the later part of the season, she had to really dig deep. Brian alluded to this earlier, trying to find new dragon riders to fill up her battle, you know, battalions here. She kind of had to scrape the bottom of the barrel. She's upsetting the paradigm of what it means to be a dragon rider, to be chosen.
Letting
right?
the pores up in here, am I right?
Yeah.
Left the gate open.
Much
Ew.
much to
They didn't
Jace's
even
chagrin.
wipe their shoes.
Eck. Who let the peasants in?
Yeah, Jace is not a fan of this plan.
Jace called the people mongrels. I was like, yo, that's wild.
You should have just said mudblood.
Bro, that was like, just use the slur, pimp. That was but that was great because I'm actually glad they gave him some, you know,
He's got some evil in him a little.
not evil, but like complexity. At first, he's just like, "Mother, we must act. Mother, we must act.
Mother, who are these mongrels?
We must act. Mama, we are not acting. Not like this. Damn it! I said, let's look for some royal dragon blood, not just anybody and their grandma off the damn streets." But I love
they
it.
remind me too much of myself.
But he low key was right. Like, hey, yo, mom, you can't have me out here being
like
brown hair, not looking like you. Then you bring these brown hair, not looking like me with dragons. Like, come on, B. You don't.
No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. I'm with Bela on that one. Just carry yourself like a fucking king, bro. Like, stop it. He's fucking Atreus from God of War.
Oh, stop. You didn't even finish any of the God of War games. Get out of here, bro. You're not allowed to have that opinion.
All right. So Rhaenyra does the unthinkable. She democratizes the dragon riding profession. And that sort of, you know, it's a little workaround. It's like kind of going around the salary cap. So Brian,
mid-level exception looking at
it. y'all are fans of some pretty exciting teams, some teams with potential, but maybe, you know, not quite at the level of like we're ready for a championship. Although I don't know, Knicks.
Are you sure? We're
ready.
Close. We've been ready.
Knicks are close
for over 50 years.
All right, so Sav for the Pels, Brian for the Knicks. If you had to, you know, be creative around finding some new players, you know, opening up the net, casting a wider net, so to speak, but you can only choose from the locals in your area. Where are you looking? Who are you looking at? Who's the first place you're going? Are you going for some blood, you know, some high blood? What is it? Noble blood, like they tried with the first guy, or are you you going more into the depths of finding the bastards?
Using noble blood and bastards outside of a Game of Thrones context for our real world is wild behavior. I don't even know. Because if we're going off that logic, I'm like, shit, am I a bastard? I don't know. My parents wasn't married. But I'm still a Jones, so I'm
Still a Jones.
I don't know. Check your privilege, Wes.
You're not a Snow.
Check
What
your
would what would the
South,
last name for
I'd probably
what
be
would the last
Swamp.
name for Louisiana be?
It'd probably be Swamp.
The
Savon
Swamp. Savon Swamp. Oh my
Savon
God.
Swamp.
Savon Murkwater. I don't
Wow.
know.
Wow.
The Savon
They
Bayou.
usually do Savon Bayou. Shit, that's kind of hard. What they call you? The Bayou Savage.
Oh,
Ooh,
I
that's
like
kind
that.
of dope. That's kind of dope. But
There's a $sign in Savage.
Cha-ching. Don't let that be my rap name. Bayou Savage with a $sign.
Oh
No,
my God.
but you're asking me where I get my squad from?
Yeah, where are you? If you got to add more talent to the Pels. Where are you looking?
I'm waiting until the heart of Mardi Gras.
Okay.
So we got the
All
biggest
the tourists.
Where are we going?
Hey, we got the F it. They're locals for the time being. They got the biggest talent pool possible.
Okay.
And then I'm just scouting out who are the toughest, meanest, because that's Mardi Gras is when you get to test all your metal, right? Or do you have stamina? Do you have grit? Can you handle walking long distances with not necessarily having a bunch of food?
But are you tactical?
Do
You
you
can't
have-
get locked in the box. You can't, you gotta plan ahead a little too.
Can you keep standing after drinking for 5 hours from 8
That
in the
too?
morning?
Are you
Right?
a marathon, not a sprint? Can you do the marathon or are you a sprinter?
Yeah.
I have done many, many Mardi Gras over the course of my life. I've seen many fall and many rise. I've seen locals handle it like champ, and I've seen transplants get swallowed into the abyss of the crowds of Mardi Gras on Lundi Gras night. But yeah, I think that's how you really test somebody. That's the gauntlet, man. Like every element of you is just being like a tough as nails. It gets settled. Are you a complainer? Like I've had Mardi Gras where, look, man, there's not a bathroom for miles. We're gonna have to thug it out. We're full of a bunch of beers. We gotta pee. The party is X miles away, and we gotta work through this crowd, find our friends. People phone dead. You got a bag of your cheeses and Nutri-Grain bars. Like that's whoever can come out of that smelling like roses, Gucci, not hungover, ready to do it the next year, not in jail because they pissed off NOPD. They deserve a spot on my team.
So you're going like Mardi Gras Survivor, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Literally that. Hey, I've
That's
seen
the
some people.
patrician.
I've seen some people get cooked during Mardi Gras, and I'm saying, yeah, you never pathetic. I've watched it firsthand. I've seen people drop like flies, and I've seen people rise like.
So you want like the role man, do the dirty work. You can make, you could fit into any role, but you're gonna hustle the whole time.
We need toughness and grit on the Pelicans. That's our biggest issue.
Lakers need that too. But we need athleticism
toughness
also.
Y'all need like
Talent.
NBA quality. I'm about to tell you what. Y'all need NBA level basketball players.
We got like that. Those people that could fill in like the lower, the lower mid tier. We don't have the upper mid tier though.
You have a team of 13th men.
No, it's like a team of 9th men.
Oh, my bad.
8th men. Yeah. We need more of like the 3, 4, 5 kind of region there. All right, Brian. In New York City, you got to pull from the locals. Where are you sending your scout team?
So you might think that the obvious answer is, you're going to go to the
Rutgers.
Rucker.
Yeah.
You're going to go to West 4th Street, the Cage. You're going to scout the street ballers, look for the next Skip to My Lou or whatever. Right. But no. We got to go Rhaenyra on this. We got to buck the paradigm because, that stuff is not going to cut it. That's not going to give us the edge that we need to get over the championship hump.
You already got an all-star point guard, right? You don't need more street ball handles.
We got talent. We got 4 out of 5 spots. Really what we're looking for is to fill in the 5 where Hartenstein's void has left us. Right?
So backup 5.
So no. So Mitchell Robinson is the starting 5, but he's also perennially injured. So we need somebody who is a legit starting 5 to
you along
be
with
his
everybody else
co-star.
Except Denver and Philly. Yeah.
So how are we gonna pull a Rhaenyra and buck the trend? We gotta keep it right for Tibbs. We're looking for the ultimate scrappers, people who are not afraid to be in the muck and throw some bows and do the dirty work. So that only leaves us one choice. We got to go to the New York City Department of sanitation. That's where it's at. We're gonna find somebody riding on the back of a dump truck. These guys are
Ooh, those some
strong.
gangsters.
They're so strong.
I have seen them lift like multiple of these metal trash cans like over their head, and then just like WWEing you into the back of a dump truck. You need somebody with bruiser type strength like that, willing to chuck it. Also, like when they get left behind by the dump truck and they gotta like hustle over with the bag. Like, we need some of that hustle. We need that hustle. We need somebody who is willing to risk and sacrifice their body because, Lord, why are they hanging off the side of the truck? That is not safe. Like, somebody is going to get clipped one way or another. And yet they do not. At least I don't see it in the news. So one of those guys has to be Tibbs worthy, and I believe it is there. We can try them all out. We'll see who can absorb an elbow from Mitchell Robinson, and they're in. There's our new 5.
We also need a 5, but we need everything else, like we said. Savon, we can't hear you.
Sound like a whole team of power forwards.
We just want more Ben Wallaces.
That was
Right?
your previous build. Don't forget, you just collected all the power forwards. Eddie Curry, era.
Yuck.
Don't forget, the trashmen also, they take the bag sometimes and they just launch them into the back of the garbage truck. So they got some mid-range jumper, I think, potential there as well.
It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to go in.
That's what she said. So
does Jen talk to you like this?
The Lakers, I don't know. What do you think the Lakers' need is, Brian and Savon? What's their biggest need? Let's just say the biggest need. What's our biggest need? Backup 5?
To be sunk into the ocean?
Well, the earthquakes will take care of that, so we got that on lock.
Yeah, I mean, they have D'Angelo, they got D'Lo, they got Reeves, they got AD and LeBron, and so they're missing what, like a small forward?
Yeah, maybe a small forward would be good. Someone, but we have LeBron.
Or maybe they need
got to play the small forward.
Maybe they need a power forward, and they need somebody to also really bring some more lockdown defense.
So we need all the things. All right. So we need Bam Adebayo, is what you're saying.
And they got to be able to score.
Okay, so Bam Adebayo.
I think there are a lot of issues on the Lakers.
Yeah, we got some issues. A lot of our players are good at one thing, like they're good at defense, but only a particular part of defense, and not good at offense at all, like Jared Vanderbilt. Or maybe they're like kind of good at some things, but like not good enough at staying with their man, like Rui Hachimura. Like he's a scorer, but he can't really like chase guys around on defense. It might be the Max Christie year. We'll see, but he's unproven and he's young, so we'll see if he comes through as our 3.
So where are you looking for talent?
All right. So we would look anywhere. And I know kind of like you might think like, let's go to the courts of Venice or
let's bring out Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. Something like that where they do have good runs, or maybe we're going to go to the Drew and find some pro-am player who, maybe isn't scouted, but I assume, people look at those games and they're like, okay, should we give that guy a try? And like, nah, they're not NBA ready. Right. So what we need, I think, you're not looking for a star. We have 2 stars, but we need some support. We need some, maybe either a flamethrower or a defensive stalwart. But I really think
you need a dragon.
I really think, like you said,
burn the rest of the league so they can win by default. Because the only way Lakers could have success.
They're the only team left. Literally.
So I guess by default.
But I think you're underestimating, the power of LA is in its diversity, right? So like we'd go everywhere. We would hit up, the jewelry district, because you really need somebody who's used to just that level of like focus on the championship ring.
There's a jewelry district?
There's a jewelry district in downtown.
Talking about?
And they're these like weird little setups, man. Like you go in there and it's just like, these just look, they don't look like anything. They look like abandoned buildings. And then you go inside and you go in this like secret elevator in this abandoned building and you go up to like the 4th or 5th floor. And all of a sudden you're just in this like random room that just looks like an apartment room, but it's got lots of jewelry in it.
So
it's
what
just,
you're
like,
saying is that it's
shady.
the stolen jewelry district.
It may be, but we need somebody who's that cutthroat to bring us a ring. So it might be there. I also, LA, the Southern California area has some good surfing, and the surfers are surprisingly, they're athletic, they're agile, which we could use more of. Like Austin Reeves and D'Lo, they're not really, they don't have any shake. They can't get to the bucket. But like the surfers, they got to make split-second decisions. They do have quick twitch muscles because they got to balance on the board while the wave is coming in. So we might have to go to Malibu and just open call for like athletes, out there in the waves, so that we could get somebody who can get to the bucket, because LeBron ain't cutting it. He's old now. Austin Reeves, he's crafty. So is D'Lo, but they don't have that athleticism just to like, the Ant Edwards kind of athleticism to get to the bucket. So I think we need to like open our mind about what a basketball player could be, and just go for that. Or we could go to the football
team. You guys are looking
team.
for flow.
Yeah.
For flow. You bring
right, harmony. But we need grinders. So and the surfers are out there every morning at 5 a.m. when it's fucking cold and they got their wetsuits on. Like, those guys are not afraid of pain. In fact, they relish it. They love it. So I think we'd go to Malibu and pick up the surfers.
Can they wear shoes though? Is the question.
Ooh. Can they go barefoot?
Capable?
Can they play barefoot?
Can they? I think that's an advantage to them if they play barefoot.
Maybe.
I think they need the tactile sensibility from their feet to channel the rest of their athletic ability.
And you saw that photo from the Olympics. Oh, I don't know if they can shoot. Well, that's why we cast the net wide. We get a lot of them. Maybe there's someone in there who's also got some game that's just untouched, or unfounded so far. And we saw that shot in the Olympics, of that surfer that was just like high up in the air with his surfboard. So they got some hops, so we could just get them a shot, like you said. Maybe they don't need it. Maybe they just need to get to the basket. Like, we got shooters now a little bit. So, they just got to be the driving kick person. That could be where we're at.
Can they handle the rock with their feet?
Wrong sport. We're back to square one with Wesley saying before.
I don't think that's where we're going with this. I don't know if there's something in the restaurants in LA. There's a ton of good restaurants. Maybe there's chefs out there that are pretty good, or they bring their knives and just like, attack the other team secretly, cut their Achilles tendons or something. That could be butcher them up. I'm not sure. That seems against the rules though. So I'm going with surfers.
I haven't seen the rule book, but maybe.
Seems like a foul at the minimum.
Could be a foul.
Flagrant foul?
Maybe flagrant one though.
Yo, but how many flagrant foul ones could you do? I mean, you could take out all the stars of the Western Conference before you really got suspended for the whole season, right? I mean, that could be kind of useful. Like, you take out who do you got to take out? We got to take out Jokic and Luka, and after that, and Steph. We only need 3.
And
maybe Ja. Maybe Ja. 4. Dude, I think you could hurt 4 people accidentally before you got suspended for the rest of the season.
Like I said, let's see what happened with Draymond.
Yeah, he came back. He only got suspended for what, 15 games?
I mean, Draymond's out here actually just committing assault. Just on the basketball court. Like, I would have went to HR. Like, hey man, this dude what's going on here, man? Why are you still here?
All right. He went to the Olympics just to hate on Rudy Gobert.
It's like your real job. You can get away with that if you gotta really be providing value. So remember, folks, if you're gonna assault a coworker, make sure they really need you at work first.
All right, that'll do it for us. House of the Dragon Season 2 finished up. Next episode, we're going to talk to Brian about his Olympics experience in the City of Lights. So no homework for next time. Enjoy yourselves, friends. We're out of here. See you later. Bye.